Welcome everybody, I'm Santiago Kneeland and this is The Divine Within, the invisible connection with God. Today we're going to talk about consciousness. Consciousness is more than self-awareness. It's the ability to recognize one's individuality while perceiving one's divine connection to the universe. This awareness allows us to engage meaningfully with both others and God, moving from simple self-knowledge to the profound experience of God consciousness, where mind, spirit, and personality align with the infinite purpose of the Creator. For Minister Bilal Antar Bin Shaddad, this ascent of consciousness is not philosophy, it is a movement. Through his revelation-driven network translating the ancient book into sound, image, and spirit, he imagines modern ministry as a fusion of street culture and celestial insight, a language where even heaven speaks through rhythm, story, and light. This is the awakening of consciousness that knows itself and knows God. So welcome, Bilal. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you very, very much. It's an absolute pleasure. Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be upon you, and peace be upon you and stupendous tidings of great joy.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. So in our first segment, because we have a lot to unpack, we're going to talk about the Adjutant mind spirits. And before we go into that, I'm just going to kind of set the basis of who they are. But I want you to talk to us about consciousness itself. But let me just put like a frame of what these mind spirits are and how you describe them as circuits. I think it's very interesting. So this is a fascinating concept of the Adjutant mind spirits, which are described as the seventh spiritual influences originating from the divine minister of a local universe. These spirits are designed to assist in the intellectual and spiritual development of all evolving creatures. And these mind spirits are from a very basic to more complex. So what can you tell us about consciousness and these circuits or mind spirits?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. As we step into the field of awareness, I am just so grateful to be able to come here and have a conversation and have this beautiful fellowship about these incredible, interesting, mind blowing topics. So, consciousness. Now, imagine consciousness as the ocean that we all swim in, that every thought, every feeling, and action sends a ripple through that field. You see, consciousness is the arena where the human and the divine meet. Think of yourself as an individual unit of consciousness, and the larger consciousness system is the over control. So we're talking about when I mean the over control, and the over control is not just one level, it's a spectrum. It's not just one thing, it's everything basically above you that has an influence over you. You understand? All the way up.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
it's think of it like that, one infinite intelligence running a simulation of love and learning. So we are individualized nodes of a vast living network. The infinite creates through us by experience. Every loving
Mm-hmm.
choice upgrades the system, every fearful reaction adds noise. So consciousness, in essence, is not what we have. Consciousness is actually what we are. Consciousness
Okay.
is divine experiencing growth through data in your life.
This is interesting. So you're saying that consciousness is what we are. So it goes beyond our mind, goes beyond our physical constraints in a way.
Yes, because you got to realize is most people do not actually understand how dynamic they have been created. You understand? So you have a soul and you have a mind, right? But most people, when they think about their mind, just think about their brain. But the truth of
Mm-hmm.
it, the matter is, your mind itself operates in so many dimensions. So right now I'm in Dubai and I'm speaking to you, right? And you're
Yeah.
able to perceive by me opening my mouth and uttering some words, and you can not only hear me, right, and get it processed, but you're also creating a visual. Now, the actual machine that actually runs that is not located in a physical organ in your body.
Okay.
you know,
Okay. This is interesting.
it's not it's like it's not in a physical, it's not like, for example, your marrow is in your bone. You cut your bone open, boom, that's the marrow and stuff like that. Now
Mm-hmm.
what you can see here are actually the tools of which you use to interact. Right now they'll tell you, okay, the front of the mind is for this, the side is for this.
Yeah.
It's like having a controller. The controller that controls the video game is actually not the person. It's just a tool that is used to actually, accomplish that. So mind
Okay.
itself is a gift. Mind is a gift of spirit. You understand? And
Okay.
personality is a gift of the Father. You
Okay.
understand? And the way we are, we're in such a dynamic. Think of anything that can happen can the anything we're in a finite world, right? But anything that can happen can happen. And so even though it's
Okay.
finite, there are millions and billions and possibly trillions of different types of options. So there's all this data right over here. So how do you give someone free will, volition, right? To choose, right? But then you also give them a guide by that still small voice, right?
Okay.
So that no matter what happens, if it's up, if it's down, it's like they always have a GPS, they always have a source, they always have a console, they always have a light, something to lead them all through. And then
Okay.
your mind is how you basically aggregate all these types of things together. So the mind is very important in our development. And getting into the adjutant mind spirits, you actually see that from each of them. So we're talking about intuition, we're talking about understanding, we're talking about courage, we're talking about knowledge, we're talking about counsel, we're talking about worship, and we're talking about wisdom. You
Okay.
understand?
And it
And
starts
these,
from intuition, which is the basis, all the
yes,
way to you said worship, and there's another one,
yeah,
right?
wisdom, yeah, worship
That's the
and
top.
wisdom,
Worship and
yes,
wisdom. Okay.
yes. So plants, animals, all interact with the first five with intuition, understanding, courage, knowledge, and counsel.
Okay.
You understand? And intuition is very interesting because intuition actually can pervade mechanized mind. I don't want to get too deep into it, but let's look at it like this. Using a computer analogy, intuition, right, is the base code that keeps you alive. It's instincts,
Okay. Okay.
right?
Yes.
So that works for everybody. It works for the fish in the sea. It works for the plants. You understand? It works for the
Mm-hmm.
plants. So
Yeah.
I'll give you an example how the adjunct mind spirits work in plants. So if you take a plant right now, a bunch of plants, and you plant them in your room, and there's no
Mm-hmm.
sun, right? They try to get to a source of sun. And
Yeah.
if for some reason you opened maybe the northwestern corner and the sun came in, right? What happens
Mm-hmm.
is their intuition would allow them to actually move towards the source of the sun. And that's
Yeah.
how plants actually communicate. And but they just don't do it. They do it for what? Instinct is for what? Survival. So that's how you would see them bend. You understand? So you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
see you can see the fingerprints throughout everything. Understanding, you could look at understanding as the pattern recognition engine. You
Okay.
understand?
This is interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's how you could look at it. You understand? So, if I'm an animal, I'm out, I need to survive, right? I need to
Yeah.
survive. But I also need to be able to recognize patterns. I need to know that,
Yes.
you know what, if I go to this place, it's a little bit dangerous. You understand? So I already have that instinct. I have the base codes that keep me alive, but now I begin to have a pattern recognition where I'm like, you know what? I can have some
Yeah.
water here. I can stay out the
Exactly.
sun, and then courage. Courage is more than just beating your chest and like, you know, courage, look at it like decision making protocol that test
Okay.
faith. You understand?
Okay.
That is what
Okay.
true courage is. You understand? It's your decision making protocol that tests faith, right?
This is interesting. Okay. Decision taking protocol that requires faith,
That tests faith.
tests faith. Okay.
Yes. So, you've already had that instinct to survive, the
Mm-hmm.
base code that keeps you alive. You have this pattern recognition engine, so you're beginning to understand certain things. So you've got a
Mm-hmm.
body of data that you have,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yes.
this courage is the decision-making protocol that tests your faith,
It
your
puts it
data.
into action.
Aggregate.
It
Yes,
takes it there. Yes.
yeah, yeah, you understand?
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
for example, I've got my intuition, I've got my pattern recognition, and I know it's dangerous here, right? So I have to test my faith to do something else. It's
Yes.
like, It's the same thing where where in the scripture it says, "Test every spirit."
And this is interesting because you're saying, and you pointed out, I'm going to test it and I'm going to go there, and you don't know the outcome, but you have the faith that if you go and take that path, it's leading you. So that's the mind taking you, and
Yes,
and it's interesting. And let me just because I really like what you're saying. It is a test, and I think every true test of faith requires courage and requires that jump into the unknown, but with that certainty that God and the universe has got your back. That it's a good
absolutely.
universe and it's
Yeah,
going to take you in the right direction on the wrong one.
yeah. And when you really look at what faith is the supreme assertion of human thought. You
Okay.
understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that's that. Now, let's jump into the fourth one. The fourth
Okay.
one is knowledge. So,
Okay.
knowledge, we look at knowledge, analogy. I would say knowledge would be that gathering experience data,
Okay.
right? So
Yeah.
I've got my base codes that keep me alive, my pattern recognition. I've got my decision making protocol that tests my faith, right? So now what
Mm-hmm.
do I need to do, right? To be able to be consistent, to be able to thrive, I need to be able to gather experience data. Okay, this happens. I did this, this happened. I did this, I this. It took me this far to walk in the sun and I got tired. So maybe I might need to do it like this time and I'll leave this, that's what it is. It's, gathering experience data. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it now takes us now to another thing, which is the fifth one, which is very, very important, which is counsel. Counsel. You understand?
Council. Okay.
So in our analogy, I would use counsel as a multiplayer mode. You understand?
Multiplayer mode. Okay.
Yeah, this is where collaboration happens and empathy. You understand? And there's
Okay.
something very interesting when you look at animals. So you look at a pack of wolves, you look at bears, and you look at lions, and all the time this word keeps coming up about like the alpha male and the alpha male and the alpha male. And the
Yeah.
alpha male is not just the strongest. You know what the alpha
Okay.
male is? The alpha male is he that has the mastery of intuition, understanding, knowledge, courage, and counsel.
Oh, this gives me a whole new perspective on the dynamics of animals, let alone human beings. This is so
Yes,
interesting because, yeah, I mean, if you mastered all these, you are the leader in that, in the animal world. Maybe you don't have the other spirits which we're going to talk about, but makes so much sense to me.
and so this is, so that alpha is the one that has the highest aggregation of all of these things and put all these things. This person is going to keep you alive, has great instincts. It has that pattern recognition, uh, the decision making protocol, the gathering data experience, but then also the collaboration is able to, put things together.
Unite the tribe,
Unite.
or the clan, or the pack.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And
Yeah.
all you need to do is just look at nature and it'll blow your mind. Look at the
Definitely.
way wolves, the way when wolves are going on a journey and they're moving, look at the way they line up. They line up in a particular type of way. You understand? They
Yeah.
have the old ones, the old and the sick a certain place, and the kids a certain place, and the warriors in a certain position, and everything is so efficient. How is this so efficient? Because someone has mastered counsel, wisdom, courage, understanding, and intuition. You understand?
Okay.
So
Yeah,
this
no,
is
this makes so much sense. I like it.
yeah.
Love it. Awesome.
Now,
Awesome.
the minute you this worship, right? This is what distinguishes us from the animal kingdom. You understand?
Okay. Okay.
This is I will use the analogy of linking to the source server. You understand?
Okay.
So, you know, that's what worship is. You understand? That's what worship is. You're able to comprehend, the greater source, that desire for the greater source, and be in awe of it, and that's what that worship is, right?
And
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 it's
worship, I understand it. I mean, and just a quick note. I mean, worship is being in awe of
hmm
creation, of existence, of God, and
hmm
even you. right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, good. Continue.
So this is wonderful. And then wisdom is very important. So remember, it's like each one of these things, it's like a link. It's like, you know, they all get like amplified and compounded basically, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so wisdom, you look at wisdom in our analogy would be like the system integration, where you
Okay.
start to begin to see the divine perspective.
Okay.
You understand where everything comes
Yes.
together. So when you look at it, when you choose courage over comfort, right?
Yeah.
The system detects a data refinement. You understand?
Okay.
So
Yes.
your consciousness, it lowers its internal entropy. You become a clearer conduit for divine intelligence. A mother forgiving after betrayal, an artist creating truth from pain. Both are, processing divine data into a higher order. So before we could think of God, the divine thought into us, and our consciousness, it's not random hardware. It's engineered for communication, for co-creation, and for continual upgrade.
Well, this is so interesting, Bilal, because this changes, the way that we view, I mean, not only consciousness, but the way that we interact and reality itself, and what you're saying is that, and I think the explanation of the animals is very clear in how, you see the way they interact, and it's practically there, in that experiment, how you were talking about the wolves and the way they interact. And it's interesting that once we get to the human beings and we have those that capacity to go into those circuits and into those mind spirits that they're able to enter us, and like you're saying, it's moving us forward, and each compounding of these spirits through courage, through faith, through wisdom, which is the highest one. And in the end, if you do not, in the end, if you go up from this life and you're not wise and you hadn't really gotten wiser, then what's the point of it? That's really taking the value out of experience, because that's what it is. And you started off saying that everything is experience. So if we do not become wiser as we experience life, then we're
Yeah,
losing a lot of the points of what we're here about, what we're here for.
yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, awesome, bro. Well, this is such a good topic. It's
First of all,
such a,
you
yeah.
do a great job of really taking the conversation on. I'm having so much fun. So having
Well,
so much.
that's a point of this exercise, Bilal. And well, with that, I'm gonna finish this segment, which is very interesting. And by the way, you can check all this out. We have links in our bio. You can also check, and Bilal is going to tell us about his work a little later on. But everything that we talk about, you can find the links, so you can find more information if you're interested. The fruits of the Spirit. These represent the tangible outcomes of living in alignment with divine principles. These fruits are not merely abstract virtues, but are living expressions of the spiritual growth and maturity. They include qualities such as love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, and self-control, which manifest as individuals increasingly align their will with the divine will. So, what are these fruits of the spirit, and what can you explain? I mean, if you can do such a good job as you did on the mind spirits, I want to see what these fruits taste like.
Okay, so the first things first is I want us to jump into the etymology of the word fruit. So the word fruit is very, very, very interesting when you actually look at the word and the root and actually what it means.
Okay.
Fruit is very linked in its definition to actual it's Latin frui or fruis,
Mm-hmm.
which was basically like the reward.
The
You
reward.
understand? The
Okay.
result of the result of. You understand? So
The
basically,
consequence of.
yeah, yeah, so for example, it's just like Jesus spoke, a good tree brings forth good fruit, and a bad tree brings forth bad fruit. So out of the abundance of a man's heart, a man speaks. It's not what comes into a man that defiles a man, but it's what comes out of a man. You
Mm-hmm.
understand?
Mm-hmm.
So now fruits of the spirit, right? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, faithfulness, and self-control. These are things that you and I, all of us, We possess this, and we can manifest these things. They're basically the evidence of divine alignment. Look
Okay.
at it in our example. Look at it as the signs of a system running clean code.
Okay.
So the signs of a system running clean code. It would be, look at them as they're the output metrics of a low entropy consciousness. When the data stream is clear, these virtues flow effortlessly. You know,
Okay.
and when you actually look at the fruit of the spirit, these things are not just for you; they actually benefit those around you
Exactly.
because you're
You're-
like,
It's like you're the tree and you're bearing these fruits for people to enjoy and eat out of.
there you go, there you go. You're the new Garden of Eden, baby. but
Yes.
the but the fruit is not forbidden.
Exactly. Awesome.
you
Awesome.
know,
So you were saying.
Yes. So with this analogy, think of your inner life as software, and these, fear and ego introduce bugs. Resentment freezes your system, but forgiveness patches the code. Stillness downloads updates from the source. So when you run on love, you move from lag to flow, from separation to synergy. That
Mm-hmm.
sudden peace in
Mm-hmm.
chaos, that instinct to help a stranger, those are fruits appearing, proof that the divine bandwidth is strong, you know. And love is
And
the
you feel
universe.
them.
Yeah,
You
you can
feel
feel
it.
them.
You feel it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because when you really look at it, love is the universe's most stable operating state. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
This is, I mean, love, with just love, uh, this world would literally change. You understand? Like if
Definitely.
everybody got on the same frequency of love, it'll change everything. Like literally, it'll change everything because the fruits are not just moral checklist. You understand? They're
Yes.
like system diagnostics. If joy and compassion are flowing, you're aligned with divine consciousness. So these are the results of you. I was speaking with someone once, and I told someone, I said, "Hey, there's a way where you can tell if someone has a real relationship with God." And he's like, "Hey, he thought I was gonna get all philosophical and stuff, and like, oh, okay, what's the Zen behind this?" And it's like it's very, very simple. The way you can know that someone has a real intimate relationship with God is the way that they treat people, not just people that they know, just anybody who they come across.
Definitely.
You
Definitely.
understand?
Yes.
Because
Definitely.
all of these things, and it's very simple, because if you have an intimate relationship with God, and you speak to God, and you learn in stillness, and you're practicing these things, and you're actually living these things, these things are bound to happen. These are manifestations. In fact, we're supposed to be overflowing with these things. We're supposed to be literally, hey, anyone who we come in contact, we should be, this is ideally how we're supposed to operate, and all of us can do this. All of us can do this. It all starts right here and right here.
I really like this because I mean, this analogy of fruits, of how first of all, we generate these fruits, like you're saying, the righteous living, being aligned, all these things that we're talking about. Once you start in that path, you start getting these fruits. And the more you go into to this path, and the more fruits you bear, the more, the more you feed your soil, you have sunlight, rain, the better the fruit it is, the richer it's going to be. But what I like is the second part, that the fruit is not for you to eat. It's for you to share, for you to share with your brothers. And this is something that's very interesting because well, you're saying the way that someone treats another person, and not only the people they love, but with compassion, with dignity, which is something that we lose sight in this modern world, with the dignity of knowing that they are children of God and that they
Mhm.
are indwelt by God. And when you recognize that, I mean, there's these fruits that you share. And let me put it this way: maybe they are poor in that they do not have these fruits, but feeding them really feeds their soul and makes a change with them. You can plant a seed in them, and even somebody that's maybe lost. Maybe I don't want to say that they're bad, because I don't think they're bad. Maybe they're lost. they can find through these, through tasting these fruits, they can find God and start their own path. So I really like this what you're saying.
Yeah, I've got a little question for you. You know, I've lived all over the world, but I haven't lived in Spain. But I want to ask you a question. I think it's, well, let me just ask my question. Have you ever seen a banana tree eat a banana or an apple tree eat an apple?
No,
Have you ever seen a mango tree eat a mango?
no, no.
But yet it produces so many of these fruits.
Yeah,
You understand? And it
yeah.
produces these fruits for people to take, have a bite, and have a great memory and be refreshed and
And
change,
nurtured.
nurtured and get vitamins and, have a moment or play around. This is the interesting thing about it. And we all possess this and we all manifest these. And it's just a question of us consistently uh to get out of this thought of like, okay, I'm gonna get in this spiritual and do right mode. That shouldn't be the stuff. And the perfect example was the example of Jesus. You
Mm-hmm.
understand?
Yeah.
So Jesus lived, he brought the divine into every single thing that he did. You
Yeah.
understand? So
He
it
lived
wasn't a question of, he never went to God in a religious sense, but it was a continual fellowship. You understand?
a communion.
Communion, a communion, and that's how it should be with us. And look at how he operated.
No,
He
definitely.
was
And
it was around the taxpayers, you understand,
yeah,
and all,
exactly. He
all
went
these.
against that. And this is what's so interesting, and I really like that you brought Jesus up, because I mean that's our reference, our model. I see that in the compassion, and we were just talking about this in a previous podcast. The dignity, what we were just saying, that he saw in every human being. Be it a leper, be it anybody. I mean, he wasn't distant. And what I really liked about it, and you were mentioning about the mind spirits, he took action. He wasn't really just about the law, which that's what
Mhm.
the other guys were all about,
Yeah,
but he was
yeah,
about action. He was about compassion. He was about giving these fruits and feeding the hungry with these fruits.
yeah. So that, I mean, that is our perfect example. If we can follow the religion of Jesus, if we can live the life of Jesus, his example, because he set an example not for just us, but he set the example for beyond, for humans and superhumans and everyone, with the way the most beautiful display of the human in conjunction with the divine every single day. I mean, he was a guy who lost his dad, you know, you know, you, he lost his dad, and not only did he lose his dad, he went through so many things that a lot of people, all they need to do is just read. So his father, fell and got injured working on the house for the basically the governor, right?
Yeah,
And he had it in his mind. Remember, his little sister was still in the stomach of his mother. You
yeah,
understand? And
yeah.
so he had it in his mind, okay, maybe I can get some of this money from this settlement and, I can buy a farm and my siblings can play around and have this and have this. And, just same normal things that we go through. And
Exactly. Mundane things that we all live through, that we can all
eh,
relate to.
yeah, he had hopes, he had desires. And when he went before and he went before Herod and, they denied him, he had to work. When you read on, it talks about the long hours, about how long he toiled and toiled and toiled and toiled. And he wasn't really bringing a lot of money, but he had to go through it because he had to provide and he had to learn. You understand? He had to learn. But it also tells us that with time, because of the quality of what he was able to produce, people sought him out, and it fulfills the scripture. A man's gift will make way for him and bring him before kings.
Well, this. I just love what you just told us about this incident, this story about Jesus, because we know a lot of the other stories, which are
Hmm.
very
Yeah,
interesting, but this one brings the human Jesus. This one shows the human Jesus and helps us relate to those struggles. I mean, I'm a provider. Anybody that has that duty. It's a sacred duty, and many times it's complicated, and the world that we live in is not maybe fosters that in such a way, and you're faced with having to provide, and that is a big responsibility, and Jesus had it, so we can see his experience, and we can relate to that, and we can see how we can transcend it from that,
yeah,
and all the good, the knowledge, the worship, the love that he gave us,
yeah.
in spite of all the things that he had to go through.
And everything he displayed in his personal life. So when you look at those that he chose, um, I mean, there were those that he chose. Someone like Thomas had such a scientific mind. Like Thomas could not be fooled. You understand? Could not be fooled. You
That's
understand?
why he was the one that didn't that
Yeah,
had to
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. You know what I mean? So he represents that highly intellectual mind. And then you had, like Matthew and, who was,
The
you know,
twins.
yeah, and the twins. And then you had other people who, um, there were of his disciples, those that today would be considered of average or slightly below, maybe if they were around today, that some people might think they would be on the spectrum, but they were part of his disciples and they were used in a wonderful way. So they used them for crowd control as ushers at these events, and people who had this image of this holy man, this guy, and then they saw his disciples as just like them. What do you think it did to them? It ministered to their mind. You understand?
I like what you're saying about how, it wasn't that each one had a role, each one was unique, and each one contributed. And you were saying that just his communion and personal relationship with God fell down into his apostles and disciples, and that's what I think the crowds really got impressed from. Not only from him talking and giving us all these teachings, but really seeing the effect of these fruits
Yeah,
on his disciples and anybody that would come near him.
yeah, yeah.
That's really interesting.
So, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
So now that we know that we can be a fruitful tree, that we can feed our brothers, what are the recommendations in your opinion, or how can we step by step, little by little, become more fruitful, let's say, in our lives?
Okay. The first thing that we can do is we can stop giving excuses.
Like that.
You know,
Ourselves are it's starting with ourselves, I think.
yeah,
With
yeah,
when we excuse ourselves, and when we, yeah, totally
yeah.
get it.
So that's the first thing. So the first thing, it starts with you. So you can't help nobody if you don't help yourself. You understand? First things first. No excuses, and then you've got to spend the time. You've got to spend the time to build your mind, right? You've got to study.
You have to
Uh,
put the work.
you've got to put the work in. And then, aside from studying, you've got to spend time in communion. You understand?
Mhm.
You've got to spend time in real prayer. Not, God, I need $1 million. God, I want this. 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 No, you need to prayerfully connect with God, appreciate Him, His nature, His character. And then you need to spend some time, in stillness, where that still small voice can whisper, where you can calm down your mind. There's a little exercise I like to tell people to do. It took me quite a while to do that. And it was, I worked on quieting my mind for 60 seconds for 1 minute. And it doesn't seem like it's really, really, like, oh, it's really easy to do. But to quiet your mind, where your mind is silent, no thoughts, just quiet for 60 seconds, it took me quite a while to actually do that because things are popping up in my mind and, all types of things and stuff. But day after day, I tried and I tried and I tried and tried. And then when I was actually able to actually achieve that, it actually helped me so profoundly. You understand?
Okay.
Because
Okay.
it allowed me to understand that I am the master of my ship,
Yes.
that I control the arena of the battlefield, my mind. You understand? That
Yeah.
I could actually, I have control over these things, and that you're not gonna
And you
find
gained
that.
it. I think
Yeah,
you gained it. You
yeah,
at first you couldn't do it, but you gained it through practice and through
yes,
hard
through
work.
practice. Yeah, through
Yes.
practice. And that was really not the goal. Like if I honestly like wrote down exactly what I was just trying to like be silent, you understand? But I learned so many things because sometimes I try and I stop and this, and sometimes I thought I had it and this, and I had to deal with my ego. I had to deal with, certain things. And then I learned so many things about myself. At first I beat myself up. I'm trying to have a spiritual moment and you're popping up and this is popping up. And then I kind of looked at my thoughts a little bit differently. And I'd be able, when something pops up, maybe
You
this
let it
pops
go.
up, I tell it, no, I started to talk to them. That's actually how
Okay.
I did it. So I'll be like, okay, great. You know, I know this is something that you want to experience. We're going to experience that, but not right now. Right now, you need to just give me some time and just be quiet. And that's kind of how I did it. That's kind of how I did it. And with time, I was able to, I don't know, the circuits of my mind got wired in a way, and I got,
Yeah.
basically got into, I didn't become a possessor of mind. I became, a controller of mind, a master of my mind. You understand?
Awesome. I like that.
So you can do that. You can do that. You can spend some time and then, um, start immediately.
Don't
Like
start tomorrow, start today.
start right now. So
Yeah.
anything that you want to do, start right now. You understand? You want to change, you want to get better. Okay, great. I want to change, I want to get better. Close your eyes, clear your mind, have that intention. You understand? And ask that still small voice. This is what I want to do. This is why I want to do it. I need some help. Can you show me how I can navigate this? And while I'm going through this journey, could you teach me other things? Could you help me with my mind and control my mind and lead me? And with time, it just gets better and better and better and
Yeah.
better. But you can start today. Instead of
Yeah.
procrastinating, start with something small, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, totally, totally. I really like this, and I like what you say that you're in control of your mind, of your life. And this is, I mean, we're talking about Jesus, and we see how he, from a, a situation that maybe might have spun him out of control, he controlled it, and he evolved it, and eventually did what we know he did. So
So many,
this,
so many difficult, like very, very high level things. Now, just imagine this coming into terms with your divinity, right? Meanwhile, you're born into a social, political, and cultural situation where your land has been conquered. There's an invading force that is administrating, and most people are thinking the Messiah is going to come as a military guy and fight and this and you're coming into terms with your divinity, and the religious, the Pharisees and the Sadducees have their version of the Messiah. The guy fighting for freedom has his, and you have to basically come to terms with what Messiah you're going to be. And then you still have a family that you're
you
basically
cannot
raising,
neglect.
that you cannot neglect. You've got a ministry, you're building, you've got all these things that you've got going on. So this was it was a great orchestration of the circuits of the mind and applying it in everyday life in such a beautiful and wonderful way.
Mind is the arena where the material and the spiritual intersect. The mind is described as a gift from the divine minister, endowed with the capacity for growth, creativity, and spiritual receptivity. It is through the mind that we experience the Adjutant Spirit's ministry, enabling us to make moral choices, seek truth, and aspire towards higher reality. The mind's evolution is marked by increasing ability to integrate spiritual values with intellectual understanding, leading to a unified personality that reflects divine purpose. So Tell us a little bit about the mind. Well, much about the mind, and also, I mean, throughout these conversations, the word divine minister has popped up. Can you also explain a little bit about the divine minister? These two things.
Okay, so I will jump in first with the mind, and then we'll close with the divine minister. So,
Awesome.
the mind, uh, in the context of what we're talking about, so we've basically, been using this computer, this game analogy, just something that people can relate to. The mind, when we look at the mind, we could look at the mind as the sacred interface between the finite and the infinite. And in this concept, the mind is where the spirit renders experience, or as the revelation puts it, it's the arena of choice.
I mean, you just explained philosophy in a nutshell. It's where potential meets reality. I'll let
So,
you continue, please.
okay, look at it like this. What with our analogy, look at it the mind as it's the VR headset, right?
Okay.
Translating informational potential into perceivable reality. So you look at the brain as the hardware, and then the mind as the software interface, the spirits as a network signal, and then your personality would be that unique user ID, and then your soul would be the accumulated data of meaning and values.
Oh, I mean, that's a perfect analogy for our times. You
Yeah,
just explained
yeah.
it
So the brain being the
perfectly.
hardware, the
Okay.
mind being the software interface, the spirit is the network signal, right? And then your personality is that unique user ID. And then your soul is the accumulated data of meaning and values. And when you look at it, your experiences are the data that you send back to the source.
To the
So,
cloud.
yeah, to the cloud. Yeah, to the
What?
cloud. you know,
No pun
so
intended, but yeah, you send that
yeah,
to the cloud.
to the cloud, to the real cloud, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So your experiences are the data that you send back to the source. So every moral decision refines your code. Every loving act upgrades the collective system. So when you pause before reacting, right, you create processing space. That space is God entering into the loop. Through awareness, you shift from being programmed by instinct to consciously co-authoring the script, right? So the mind is sacred technology. It's where God runs his code through human choice.
I really like this of the importance of experience in our lives, and in the end, and this is, I mean, this is nothing. This is not novelty, but in the end, we come naked and we go naked. It's the experiences that we return to the source that really go beyond. I mean, not only our personality, but those experiences. And this is a concept that I really, really like. God the Father, the first source and center, upholder, controller of everything. He's fixed in paradise, right? So how can he really expand throughout his universe and live his universe? He does it through our experience. He does it through our trials, and you know, the happy trials as well as the sad trials.
Mhm.
So even though what we feel sometimes that we're abandoned, or maybe that God is not there, if you still your mind, like you're saying, if you become quiet, if you let that spirit invade you, you realize that He's experiencing that with you. He's suffering with you, and that's really powerful. How we are, in a way, feeding into this concept of God the Supreme, God the aggregate of everything, right?
Yeah. So stillness, I love what you said about stillness. So stillness is it's amazing. Stillness is not escape. It's like a system maintenance. It's how we synchronize the divine mainframe and render higher realities into our daily life. So you just gave an example of the Father. He has given us this still small voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
To go through and experience everything that we're going through. And the beautiful thing about experience is within every single experience, there is something to be gained, something to be learned, and something to be realized. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
There's something to be realized. And a lot of times we get like super emotional about like it's like we look at things from what we see in front of our eyes, and imagine somebody looking at from the Google Maps or Google Earth view. It's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
same view, but different perspectives.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
for
yeah.
example, someone is here, right? They're three guys. We're three guys. We're in the army. We're at war. We didn't cause the war, but we have to fight war. And we're three buddies. We love each other. We're fighting for our country. And all of a sudden, we're in a hole. Somebody throws in a grenade. And one of us looks, and before he can say anything, he jumps on the grenade. And it blows up. Now, we look at it like, oh my goodness, we lost a friend. But he just unlocked something. He learned something about courage, about selflessness that he unlocked. You understand? And we need to look at, see, the lives we live here are just but a little bit of time. It's just a
Fraction
little,
of our
just a
existence, of
fraction.
our whole
It's like
existence.
in compared to eternity, it's not even a blink of an eye. You understand? It's not even a blink of an eye. And look at it like this, right? A moth is really not beautiful, right? It's little cocoon, and then it has all this stuff, and then all of a sudden it goes from a moth and it comes out this beautiful iridescent butterfly. Now imagine this butterfly, right? You telling this butterfly, oh, you were with the other moths and their hearts are going to be broken. And because they're going to be broken, you shouldn't be a butterfly anymore. You should go back and be a moth. No, another life has continued. You understand? We've moved on to, and so we need to look at things in perspective like that. And it's just a beautiful thing when you really look at, the mind, and this divine game of growth. Because reality, if I was to stay true to this whole theme of how we've been talking about this, I would say this is a divine game of growth. Okay.
Yes.
That reality is the spiritual simulation where love is the objective and choice is the controller and consciousness is the screen. And Christ Michael showed us the end game, a being so aligned with the source that every action rendered the truth and compassion perfect. So, when we live that way, we just don't play the game, we upgrade it. Our growth refines the system itself. And that's what the revelation calls the evolution of the supreme being. Or, with our example, it'll be the larger consciousness system evolving towards love.
Yes.
You know,
Yes. Totally.
it's
Totally.
Yeah, so I just like to tell everybody who's gonna be watching this, take the time daily to log out of noise and to reconnect to the source through
Yeah.
stillness and ask, you know, what data of love did I return today? Because that's what endures, not information, but transformation.
That.
We are not
I love that.
avatars seeking the divine, we are the divine learning to play human.
Yes, I like that concept. I talk, I mean, on my studies and in my work about the law of time, and with the Mayans, they have a concept called the dream spell. And we're playing this dream. We're in this dream, and the better that you can live this dream and you can fulfill this dream. And what you can, I mean, dreams can go into, upon these dreams or nightmares. Try to live in control, like you were saying. You have control of your mind. You can control and guide with your mind.
Yep. And in each dimension of reality, you can do that. So you were talking about, not to segue into other things, uh, there are different revelation.
By the way, this is just the beginning of our relationship, and we're gonna have to unpack a lot of other topics. So, I mean, you can don't worry, we're gonna get to that sometime. But yes, this is. But we have a little bit of time left. But I wanted you to because we're talking about this divine minister. Who is this divine minister? And since you're explaining these things so beautifully and lovingly, I want you to explain to our audience who the divine minister is.
The divine minister. Man. first of all, we need to take a second and just appreciate that a minister, ministers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a divine minister. So the divine minister must be on a divine mission. You
Mm-hmm.
understand? Intentions are pure. So the divine minister is the Holy Spirit,
Okay.
and that's the Spirit of Christ Michael poured out on all of us. So you know what? I'd like to take a real topic to really like to like to like I like on certain subjects I don't want to kind of like do cutaways and but the divine
You want to
minister.
do a whole topic on the divine minister? Let's do that.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
one with
because
the,
this will be we can really like get into, meat and bones. You understand? Meat and bones,
I
and we can
agree.
like really, 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 we can really get deep. We can really get deep. There's
So
something that I
let's
like.
let's yeah, just mention something, but yes, I will take your word on that, and we're gonna schedule something later so we can have a second part of this conversation.
I'm actually being led to do something right now. So let's do this right now.
Yes.
I want you to do this, Santiago. Get comfortable where you are right now. Just get comfortable where you are. Right? Yes. Hello.
There you are.
Yes. The energies are very, very, very strong. For those of you, well, he'll probably tell you about this. All kinds of wonderful things have been happening at this stuff. I'm not surprised. It's a lot of powerful things that are just happening right now. But I wanted you to do this. This is something that we do, and everyone can follow along. I just want you to I want you to relax, right? I want you
Okay.
to relax, and I want you to think about a memory, a very pure memory, something nice. It could be anything. It could be a favorite food. It could be sitting on your grandmother's lap. It could be a favorite place. I want you to think of a pure, wonderful, great time. It could be the first time you met a loved one, the best moment of your life. And I want you to really just think about it. I want you to relive it. If it is a place, maybe it was at your grandfather's farm, I want you to feel the grass under your feet. If it was a meal, I want you to smell it. I want you to taste it. I want you to take your mind now and just relax your mind. Just relax your mind. We're going to have a wonderful time in the simulation right now. Just relax your mind. Now you're at a great place. You're at a great place. Now, I want you to do this right now. I want you to go inside. I want you to begin to think about the nature and the character of God. You could take just one thing and just focus on it. It could be grace, it could be love, it could be light. I just want you to just focus on that right now. Just focus on that and just appreciate it and see it for what it is and how beautiful and how lovely and how it impacts you and everything that has gone into that. It's glorious, it's lovely, it's perfect. Yes, this is divine. And now I want you now to take the time right now to think about one thing that it is that you want to accomplish or you want to happen or you want to do. Anything it could be. I just want you to think about it in your mind's eye. And then right now, I want you to now begin to look at that, whatever it was, and begin to see it, begin to visualize it in the light of how you want it to play out. So if it was a door, I want you to begin to see this door open. If it was a job that you're looking at, see yourself receiving a call, see yourself getting dressed, see yourself walking in, meeting your the new employees of your new company. Whatever it is, I want you to visualize it, and I want you to put your attention, your awareness towards it. And then right now, I want you to use a supreme assertion of human thought to consider this a reality, whatever it is, a supreme assertion of human thought. And then now I just want you to be thankful. Just be thankful. Just be grateful. Just be appreciative. Be in awe. Be thankful. Glory, glory, glory. And I'm going to count down from 5. And when I get to 1, I want you to come back to me. Just be thankful. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're back. And for every one of you guys that have just gone through this, I know it's beautiful, it's wonderful. I want you guys to send a message, right on, in the comments, send Santiago, make a video, talk about it. And this is something that you can do all the time, all the time, all the time. It's been beautiful. It's been lovely, Santiago. I look forward to fellowshipping with you again. The energy has been absolutely incredible, man. Incredible. It's been incredible. It's been so incredible. The lines keep on cutting off.
Yes, I know, I know. It's too much energy flowing, brother. So it was
you know,
really. I mean, I'm closing this program glowing. So I really appreciate it. And shoot, this is the beginning of a lot of conversations that we're gonna have. Really filled me. Really brought me a lot of insights. Which that's what I really like about life. It's so many things that can happen, and such a good conversations and community that we can have.
and I want to thank you for bringing me on. For those of you who don't know, I have a lovely, lovely, lovely sister, April Helen, and she connected us. And I remember the first time we spoke, it was just this awesome connection. My brother from another mother, and it's just a pleasure to come on and learn and share and just fellowship, because that's what it is. Iron sharpeneth iron, and one man's countenance another. And that's what this is all about. I do not claim to have all the answers. I am learning. I am growing. I am humble. I want to learn. And whatever I know, I'll try and teach. And, I'm open to learn and just fellowship. And I just love the opportunity. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother Bilal, and
Thank
thank
you.
all of you that joined us. I hope you really enjoyed this podcast. If you liked it, you can subscribe. You can only if you liked it, and you can also share it, tell people about us. And maybe that there's something they can take out of our conversations. So thank you for joining. Thank you for participating. And I'm Santiago Kneeland. This is the Divine Within. Take care and carpe diem. On the Divine Within podcast, we'll share real conversations to help you find a personal connection with God. My goal is to support your faith, growth, and journey toward discovering the divine within yourself. Join us to deepen your faith and spiritual journey.